Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Earthly Headlines. Today, we're going to talk about Switzerland, Bronze Age Switzerland. Around this time, there was a lot of stuff going on in Switzerland at the time. There was like the Indo-Europeans came in, and then the Romans came in after that, and then eventually they became what they are today. But before that, they went through a bunch of different types of cultures. So like the Bell Beaker culture came in, and then in this case, the tumulus culture came in. This is around 3,500 years ago, so like 1500 BC, around there. So what they found was what appears to be a prosthetic hand, maybe, or something that was part of a sculpture, perhaps, but it was made of entirely of bronze. It came up happenstance. So I think a couple of guys with the metal detector, they were just, I don't know if they were tourists or not, but they just went and they looked around just to see what they could find. I mean, down at the beach, every morning there are guys with metal detectors looking for coins, jewelry, whatever, every morning. So I think that's kind of like what these guys were, like hobbyist guys looking to maybe find some gold or money or whatever. They find this, and these scientists come in, and they discover that it's a really old burial ground. So if a guy's buried with this, well, first of all, it's the first gauntlet or type of bronze hand that they've ever found, period, I think, or the earliest metal representation of a human body part ever found in Europe. The 3,500-year-old object is a hand slightly smaller than life size, made of more than a pound of bronze. It has a cuff of gold foil glued to the wrist and a socket inside that would have allowed it to be mounted on a stick or pole. I mean, I don't know why they would put it on a stick or pole, but there's a socket, and if it's primitive, I think it might have been a prosthesis, right? I mean, it was in a burial ground, and it was buried with somebody. I don't know. The find was originally uncovered in 2017, so a little over a year ago, near Lake Biel in the western canton province of Bern, by treasure hunters using metal detectors who turned it into authorities along with the bronze dagger and a rib bone. So they radiocarbon dated the glue. I guess this gold part right here on the wrist was held by some natural glue, probably plant-based or something. They found out that it's between 1400 and 1500 BC. So yeah, 3,500 years ago. So this places it within the tumulus culture. Now, the tumulus culture they're like a warrior type of culture, where they were kind of almost like the barbarian bands, where they would just roam around, not just loot and plunder and stuff, but they would actually expand their territories just for hunting and whatever natural resources, stuff like that. And they occupied this plateau. So if you don't know about most of Switzerland, there's this place called the Swiss Plateau. It was occupied by this culture, and then the Helvetians came, and then eventually the Romans drove them out, and then the Romans occupied it before the Roman Empire obviously fell apart. After the tumulus culture, they didn't really bury their dead after that. They cremated them. So the fact that they found a burial already dates it beyond the time of, or previous to the time of when they were cremating everybody. When they started excavating, the archaeologists, they came, the people with the metal detectors turned it into the authorities, and then the authorities had an excavation going, and then it was a badly damaged grave located on a plateau above the lake near the tiny village of Prelis. There's a magnificent view over the plateau to the Alps. It's a really extraordinary place. Within the burial, they found the bones of a middle-aged man, along with a long bronze pin, a bronze spiral, like a hair tie, and fragments of gold foil matching those that adorn the bronze hand. So bronze and gold, you can see a pattern here. So this is definitely in the thick of the Bronze Age. So yeah, this guy must have been wealthy or something. They recovered one of the sculpture's broken fingers. So if in the photo earlier, the hand, there was a gauntlet, but then obvious fingers that were broken. So to them, that's an indication that the hand was originally buried with the man. This is why I think it was a prosthesis, rather than just part of a random sculpture where you can't find the other part of the sculpture, right? And then there's a socket, I mean, if you had a stump, I mean, it would fit right in, right? I don't know. Metal objects are rare in Bronze Age burials, and gold is almost never found in Bronze Age burials in Switzerland. So right off the bat, this guy must have been really important, or his family just or whoever buried him must have had access to gold somehow or some way. A sculpture like this is unique in Europe and perhaps beyond. The fact that we know of thousands of Bronze Age graves and have never found anything like this shows it's pretty special. So here's some implications of this. First of all, we know that around this time it was a warrior culture. Maybe they weren't violent, but he was buried with a dagger and probably some other stuff, because remember, it was a damaged burial, so a lot of stuff probably did not get excavated, or maybe was looted or something like that in the remote past. The fact that he had a prosthetic hand, maybe his hand got cut off during a battle or something, or some sort of altercation. They think it might have been used for a ritual purpose, but I think the ritual here was just his burial. I don't know, man. This is a pretty cool find. It's really weird that they haven't really found gold in any other burial in that area. So maybe he was part of a band of warriors that plundered or somehow got hold of a bunch of riches like gold. And the fact that he was buried with it maybe indicates that he was a part of that campaign, or he was lauded by his people for bravery or something like that. But either way, he was probably held in high regard. And this is a weird time during in Swiss history, because a lot of Swiss history now is like Bern, the city of Bern that this was found in. It's actually a medieval city, Bern itself. The land that it occupied before wasn't really called anything as far as my research went. I mean, it was probably called something else, but the actual city of Bern itself wasn't established officially until like way later. Maybe there's some unrecorded history here that we don't know of yet. Maybe there was some settlement here that either got wiped out and completely replaced, or just forgotten in the sands of time, right? So what do you guys think? I think this is cool. They found Jaime Lannister's hand. Maybe Game of Thrones is real, right? Who knows? It's really mysterious that they've never found anything like this before. It's really surprising, actually. I thought that would be pretty common, people with prosthetics, especially during the time of war like this, where battles were brutal, how stuff played out was brutal. People, I guess if you got your hand cut off, you're probably likely to die. There's no antibiotics or anything, and if you happen to live, I guess it's super rare for you to survive something as traumatic and catastrophic as losing a limb or some digits. But this guy survived, and much respect to him. He survived, and thousands of years later, we now know that a guy lived and survived and was lauded for probably bravery. I mean, I can't understand why else they would bury him with all this stuff, and probably other stuff. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys later.